9 News Plus weather, sponsored by Carrier Colorado. The future of home comfort is here.
Hey, happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. Congratulations here in Denver. We just hit freezing for the first time in a little over 4 days. In a little over 100 hours, we were stuck below freezing here in Denver, but we have just climbed above that magic freezing point here in town. Hooray. Whoop-de-doo. But you might want to break out the swimsuits, because later today we will be perhaps talking about 40-degree temperatures for us here in Denver. So on the good news side, we've got fairly calm weather overall. A lot of sunshine, temperatures on around seasonal levels, what you would expect for the first day of the month of February. And those temperatures are going to stay fairly mild as we head over the next few days. So looking outside, a lot of sunshine overhead for us here in Denver, where again, I think that's going to be the rule of thumb as we head over the next little while. Taking a look out at Lookout Mountain, kind of still looks like the Arctic out there in Golden and North Table Mountain there off on the right-hand side of your screen. But again, things are getting better pretty quickly for us. So we're actually above freezing. That is, I think, a reason to celebrate. Yes, that is indeed. I'm being mostly facetious about that, but yeah, I think we actually are probably doing a fist pump or two about that. Quiet weather really for this week. A lot of sunshine, temperatures again around seasonal levels, and also may even by the end of the week nick 50 degrees here in Denver. Could talk about some gusty winds on Friday, and then there's a chance for snow early next week. The temperatures right now, where that cold air is settled in, it's in some of those valleys. So that's why Gunnison, Kremling, still stuck below zero. Even Steamboat Springs there in Yampa Valley, 4 degrees right now. But hey, that is a lot better than yesterday. Most of northwest Colorado did not get above 0 degrees yesterday. So you've already rocketed up to 5 degrees there in Meeker. Gunnison -3. Again, that cold air, it takes a couple days for that to mix on out. Colder air is denser, it is heavier, so it sinks to the bottom of those valleys. That's why, again, Gunnison, Kremling, some of those really cold spots, that cold air loves those valleys, and you need to get some wind to mix in some of the warmer air from up aloft to get down into those valleys and mix it on out. So that's why, again, it's really cold in places like Kremling and Gunnison. Mentioned Denver, we did get up to about 33 degrees last hour, just looking at some of the minute-by-minute observations, so we have officially climbed above freezing for the first time since Saturday morning. That, yes, I am waiting for your round of applause. Wind chills right now in the mountains, still a little bit on the chilly side. So if you are heading on up into the high terrain, just keep in mind that we will be looking at some pretty chilly temperatures throughout the course of today. But again, that'll depend on exactly where you are in the high country. So for today, we'll get up to near 40 degrees for us here in Denver. We will see a pretty big difference between the west side of Denver and the east side of town. Out by the airport, 225, Aurora, I think we will be in the 30s for today. You get onto the west side of town, that's where we're getting a bit more of a downslope component to the wind. That's where we get into low 40s. So Golden, Arvada, Morris, and the usual spots will be a few degrees warmer than the east side of town. Just worth pointing that out. Forecast highs for today. Officially, probably downtown on east in the upper 30s. Again, west of downtown, we'll be probably looking at some low 40s for us. Even a few spots, wouldn't be surprised, somebody gets up to about 45 on the west side of the metro area. Forecast highs into the mountains, a lot of 20s and 30s for our day today. AC Doppler radar revealing all that fresh snowpack. That's what you're seeing there. That's not cloud cover. It's just a whole lot of fresh snowpack out there on the eastern plains of Colorado. But notice that snow hole that is so persistent from Colorado Springs on south into Pueblo. That is downsloping. A lot of these storms that have led to all the snow here across northeast Colorado, that's been courtesy of a north-northeast wind, and that north-northeast wind downslopes off the Palmer Divide. So that's why you might notice that little hole of snowfall in Colorado Springs, Pueblo, kind of El Paso and Pueblo counties, and even a little bit further east, out by Simla. That's, again, that downsloping off of the Palmer Divide. Forecast, it's quiet here, folks. It's going to stay quiet through the rest of the weekend. Meteorologist Greg Perez and I were talking about this yesterday. No complaints after a very, very busy month of January in terms of cold. It was colder. Fun fact, this is not fun, but I'll call it a fun fact anyways. Last month in Denver was colder than Buffalo, Chicago, and Detroit here in Denver. So yeah, not fun for us, but we're getting a little bit of a breather. Tonight drops down to 21, not as bad as it's been. Sunset 5:18. Fun fact, this is an actual fun fact. Next week, first 5:30 sunset of the year. So we're gaining about 2 minutes of sunlight a day right now. That is fun. That is actually fun, as opposed to the depressing facts I'll have for you about the month of January here in a second. Tomorrow, 44 for us here in Denver. That is almost at seasonal levels. Our average high for first week of February, it's 45, so we're almost there. We're going to be flirting with it, but probably not quite at our seasonal average, but we'll take it. Again, 44 compared to what we had this week. That is going to feel like Cabo. Forecast highs for tomorrow, again, 30s, 40s. For most of us on the Eastern Plains, it'll vary depending on where you are. Northeast Colorado, I mentioned this before, there's a bit of a cold pool in places like Greeley, Yuma, even Lyman. That's a combination of all that fresh snow that is kind of insulating some of that colder air. And then number two, those areas sit, especially Greeley, a little lower, and that, as I mentioned earlier on, that cold air loves those little low spots, those kind of subtle little low spots. That includes Greeley and along the South Platte River. So that's where we do often see those temperatures that just run a tick colder than other areas. But Denver, I do think we are going to benefit from those downsloping winds, and we'll get into the mid 40s for us tomorrow. Again, hey, it's dog walking weather. You can actually go outside. I'm going to go for a run tomorrow outdoors, and I am pumped about it. I'm sure you are as well. And then that 7-day forecast. By Friday, it does turn a little windier, especially into the foothills. Not crazy windy. No fire danger, of course, with all that fresh snow and all that moisture we've had. But we do have those temperatures that'll get up to 50 degrees as a result of some fairly gusty winds. Saturday, a little cooler with lighter winds. And then Monday, Tuesday, this doesn't look like a big deal for us along the Front Range, but it does look like it's going to snow into the high country for a couple of days. Denver area right now looks like maybe a little bit of light snow for us Monday night, Tuesday. I will say that the jet stream is involved on Monday night, Tuesday, so just stay tuned on that forecast. Right now, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but whenever the jet stream is involved, we can sometimes get these little banded events, and that is something to watch for Monday night and Tuesday. But point being, I really wouldn't worry. It's not going to be, it doesn't look like a widespread big storm or anything like what we had much last month. So, that said, what we've seen so far this season here in Denver, we're about 37 inches worth of snowfall officially at Denver International Airport. It's closer to about 31 inches at the Central Park Station, so the airport has seen a bit more snow than central Denver. Reason I point that out is that we've been the beneficiary here in the Denver area of kind of some localized snowfall. So Boulder only slightly above the season to date average, Colorado Springs right about at average, and Fort Collins actually about 17% below its season to date snowfall average. So what we've seen is a lot of these kind of localized snowfall events that have again, really led to a lot more snow for us here in Denver, but it's worth noting, and for those of us here in central Denver, it's worth noting that the rest of the Front Range is at, right around where we should be in terms of snowfall. We're way above average here in Denver, about 10 inches or so above average. All right, let's get to the depressing stuff, shall we? So last month here in Denver, it was an average monthly temperature, averaging the highs and the lows of 25 degrees. For us here in Denver, 25.0. That made it our coldest month overall. That includes December's, January's, February's, all months of the year. Coldest month in over 12 years, since December of 2009. It was really, really cold. Now, these are DIA temperatures, and DIA certainly ran a few degrees colder than downtown, but even here in downtown Denver, I think that comparison in terms of this being our coldest month in 12 plus years is valid as well. We had an average temperature in downtown closer to about 28, 29 degrees in central Denver, and that made it, again, our coldest month since 2009. I mentioned this is really depressing, but maybe a fun happy hour fact. Chicago, Detroit, and Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, all those cities were considerably warmer last month than Denver. That is not common. Usually it's the other way around. But last month, boy, weather flipped upside its head. It was crazy warm on the East Coast, and then here in Denver along the Front Range, as you all felt, it was not warm. With that said, Snowpack, this is the good news side of things, and I always like to close out the good news. So the good news is we got all that snow, And really with the exception, and I will say it's a pretty notable exception, the Arkansas River Basin. This is really the wet mountains, the Rampart Range on south into the Sangre de Cristos. We really could use a snowfall, starting to need that out into the Arkansas and Rio Grande river basins. Aside from that, we are sitting in really good position in terms of our season to date snowpack. We'll note that we're going to stay dry for a few days, so this will probably tick down as we get into the end of the week, but we'll get another surge of some light to moderate snowfall for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. That should keep this roughly about where it's at, although we'll probably see some decreases in some of that snowfall in southern Colorado. But overall, takeaways, we had that really, really cold month last month. You already know about that. Won't quite go down in the history books. It finishes our 15th coldest January on record, but it was notably cold, especially for recent years. A. B. Snowfall, we've had a lot of it here in Denver, but worth noting that it's pretty localized to Denver, but the high country, a lot of great snowfall over the last little while, and that is certainly good news on up into the higher terrain. The forecast, a lot of sunshine and quiet temperatures right around seasonal levels as we head over the next few days. Meteorologist Greg Perez is right over there. He will have an update for you coming up at 9 News at noon and also at 2 o'clock right here on 9 News Plus. Then Chief Meteorologist Kathy Staples in at 4 and 5, and then Meteorologist Lauren Robinson in at 6, 9, 10 tonight on the 9 News family of networks. Once again, I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.